Hi friends! In this video, we're going to go over several keyboard shortcuts that you should know if you want to improve your typography skills. The first shortcut is for quotation marks. So by default, the quotation mark key renders a straight version, and this straight version looks the same whether it's used as an opening quote or as a closing one. However, for good typography, we want to use the curly version. So if you're on macOS, you're going to use Option plus opening square bracket for an opening double quote, and then Shift plus Option plus opening square bracket for a closing one. If you're on Windows, you will use the Alt key with 0147 for the opening one, and the Alt key with 0148 for the closing one. And so this was for the double quotation marks, but the same principle applies to the single quotes. By default, they render as straight, but then if you're on Mac, you can use Option plus the closing square bracket to create an opening one, and then Shift Option and the closing square bracket to create a closing one. If you're on Windows, you can use Alt plus 0145 and Alt plus 0146. A great thing is that some apps like Notion actually convert the straight quotes into curly ones, so you don't have to worry about doing the shortcut there. And the last thing to note here is one place where you still want to use straight quotes is of course when you are writing code. The next few shortcuts are for the N and M dashes. So first, let's go over the differences between a hyphen, an N dash, and M dash. So you use a hyphen either for multi-part words or for phrasal adjectives. Hyphen is also used when a word breaks onto the next line, and that typically happens automatically by the word processor. The M dash is the widest one, and it's used to make a break between parts of a sentence. I really like this description from Matthew Butterick in his book Practical Typography. Use it when a comma is too weak, but a colon, semicolon, or a pair of parentheses is too strong. Lastly, the N dash is about half as wide as M dash and is used either for range of values or for connection or contrast between pairs of words. You can also use it as a minus sign. So for the hyphen, you can just use the hyphen key, but then if you're on macOS, for the N dash, you're going to use the Option plus hyphen key, and for the M dash, you're going to use Shift plus Option plus hyphen. If you're on Windows, you're going to use Alt plus 0150 for the N dash, and Alt plus 0151 for the M dash. Again, some apps like Notion will allow you to type, for example, 2 hyphens, and it will convert them into an M dash. The next one is ellipses. It's so common to type ellipses as 3 periods, and again, while some processors will convert it into a single ellipsis symbol, many don't. The main two differences between the 3 periods and an actual ellipsis symbol is that first you can't select a part of an ellipsis symbol, so when you highlight it, it's just one symbol. And also the ellipsis symbol tends to render with a bit more space between the dots. So to create an ellipsis symbol, you're going to do Option plus semicolon on macOS, and then Alt plus 0133 on Windows. The next one is a shortcut for a nonbreaking space. So the difference between a regular space and a nonbreaking space is that the latter helps to ensure that text does not get broken up. For example, for dates or names, we don't want to accidentally end up with a situation where, let's say, November 1 is on one line and 2024 is on the second line, or Mrs. is on one line and then the last name is on the second one. Using a non-breaking space ensures that these bits of text stay together while still having space between them. So to create a non-breaking space, you're going to use Option plus spacebar on macOS and then Control Shift and spacebar on Windows. So I hope these tips were helpful. These are subtle things, but they can make a great difference in the overall presentation of your writing, especially in the context of a website or portfolio. If you are interested in exploring more, I highly recommend the Practical Typography book by Matthew Butterick, which I brought up earlier. While you can read it online for free, you should consider paying for it if you can. It has so much valuable information and it's presented in such a clean and polished way. Another useful book is Typography Best Practices published by Smashing Magazine. Thank you for watching, and until next time, bye-bye.